I could hear that over here at my house.
Oh, yeah. Get him, Jay.
Trying not to watch this game, but that was just scored.
This meeting is being recorded.
What's up, Crashed It Nation? This is Jonathan Wood. This is episode number 32 on the Crashed It podcast. We thank you all for joining us. Thank you for liking, subscribing, sharing. We're continuing to grow each and every week, and we really appreciate all the feedback that we've been receiving for all the drivers across the country. This week on the podcast, we're going to have Jacob Wood, Jode Fishborn, and Chris McDaniel joining us live right now. We're going to start off the podcast with some new announcements that we received over the week. Buried Alive announced that they're going to have a tournament style 64 card limited weld style team show. It's like a bracket. It's if anyone's seen March Madness, that's what they're going to do. They're going to have 64 cars. They're going to break it down into like a big old bracket. And we kind of I've got it coming up on the screen for you guys. Just kidding, because forgot about the. All right. So they're gonna have eight heats of 8, 15-minute time limits, and then they're gonna have the top 4 of each little heat's gonna advance to the second round. Kind of like the Sweet 16, and then the final 8 the final 6 or the 32, I guess, and then the final 16 would be on the track for the main feature. 8,000 to win, pretty cool idea. That's another new idea, and I think that one's going to come down to kind of how gets drawn out. So you'll still have politics in that show, but at least it could come down into whichever bracket you get seated in, and that was pretty cool. What do you guys think? What do you guys think about that?
I think that's pretty neat. I mean, yeah, you'll still have some politics associated with it. You can't get all of it out, but I'm going to be excited to see it.
So what happens at the end of the 15 minutes? Do they pick a winner if nobody wins, or how does that work?
No, they said. So he came out and said that if they are not down to 4 cars in 15 minutes, everybody loses.
Oh,
That's what's up.
So it's not like you can get out there and fiddle paddle around, because that's a huge show that I'm sure the whole country is going to be watching. So they're going to want to keep it moving. And that's one way to do it. I mean, if you're not down to 4 and 15, then everybody loses. I thought that was really cool. So,
yeah.
15 minutes cool. Isn't very long.
No, they're going to have to be getting it pretty hot and heavy. The Smith and West Youth Expo Center is going to have like a cadet class. Smith Metalworks is going to have a youth class. They call it their cadet classes. You have to be a beginner derby. You have to be a beginner derby car driver. You can't be like a youth that's been running for the last 2 years or something like that. You have to. I thought that was pretty cool. And they're going to actually have the inspections and the officials by some of the youth drivers that's been running youth shows around the country. So that's going to give them an opportunity to see what the promoters see. And then they're also going to have an announcer is going to be a youth as well. So I thought that was really cool. So
we got some announcers. We got some youth announcers that could probably pull that off down here.
Yeah, I know.
No, I've seen that. That seminar looks very, or that expo looks very interesting. thought about maybe going up and checking it out. I think it's in April, and they got a bunch of seminars. There's a derby. There's all kinds of cool stuff going on. So I thought about maybe seeing how far from home it was and checking it out.
Yeah, that's on April 1st, and I can't wait to see what. I've never been to that Derby Expo, but it looks like it's really cool stuff to watch and to look out for. Lucky Sevens Promotions came out and they announced that there's 2023 sponsorship packages are available, and we'll get into that here in a little bit. But they just came out and announced that they are now accepting sponsors. I don't know if you guys have heard back anything on your series sponsors yet or not. But
Yep. Series sponsor for the figure eight's taken care of. Landon's doing it again. So it'll be Jonathan won't have to change up his announcing for the figure eight series. It'll be still the Worthy Bell Bonds figure eight series. Derby series, we're still looking for a series sponsor, and if somebody's interested, we can split it up like we did last year. Somebody can take the full size and somebody can take the compacts, and it just makes it a lot more affordable that way if somebody's interested in doing that.
so if you're interested, if you're listening on Spotify or anything like that, and you want to reach out to these guys, where would they be able to go to reach out to you guys?
Easiest way is just to call me. Facebook, our Lucky Sevens page, email. It's all on the website. Any way you want to get a hold of us is all on the website. So that's probably the easiest way to find us if you're not familiar with us.
So MWFA Street Stock upcoming dates, they released their schedule and which events. Jason Sauer, he was the creator of this class, and I kind of heard a little bit new information about this class that I've never really heard about before. I don't know if don't quote me on this because I haven't heard back yet, but from what I hear, in the MWFA class, they have a set purse, and the only person that wins extra money from the set purse is the winner. They have like a $500 to win, and then it don't matter if you get second through however many people sign up. Everybody gets an envelope with money in it. Some people you could get, say, 32nd place and win $700, have the biggest envelope. And I've just found out about that, and I thought that was interesting because there was a guy that got third, and he said, "Yeah, I got 32nd though." So I thought that was really cool how they do that. So you could get on the Most Wanted Fine Arts page. That's where I kind of found this, and look up.
Yeah, I thought it was cool because what the reasoning behind all that is this is supposed to be just, any kind of car you can get off the street, like not your more desirable cars. So they don't want Luminas out there, and they don't want Camrys out there. They want Hyundais out there, and it keeps kind of the big fish from going in there because you're only running for $500. So it's just a beginner's class, and I think we're going to try it out this summer somewhere at one of our shows. And another cool thing about the class is it's nationwide, and all these guys, they're starting to do like destination derbies. So basically what you do is you build a car for a guy in Minnesota. He comes down to Missouri, Lake of the Ozarks, per se. We have a tourist area. They run that derby. You build the car for him. You bring it to the track. He runs the derby. And then maybe next year down the road, you want to go up there. He builds you a car. You just show up, run. You could take your family on a vacation and still go to a different state in derby. So that's kind of why that class got started. And I'm kind of intrigued, and I'm probably going to do something like that within the next few years, just to go run somewhere where I don't know a single person there. And I think it'd be so much fun.
Joshua Wagner did that some years ago in New York, and that was pretty cool. I think he ran a turn back the clock class in the old iron. That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, that is awesome. Derbies of the Show Me State. They came out with their t-shirt design. These are on sale. You can go to their Facebook page, Derbies of the Show Me State. They have all their they're going to call it Missouri Tour of Destruction. They're going to put some shows and stuff on there that they're planning on being at. For everyone that hasn't heard about Derbies of the Show Me State, they're just a group of local guys that decided one day they want to inform the Derby community about different shows going on around the state of Missouri, and they try to get card counts and stuff like that. We actually had them on a previous episode. They're a group of younger kids trying to just add a little touch of themselves into the demolition derby world, and that's the kind of stuff I like to support. So their shirts are on sale. You can find them on Facebook. The Rebel Run's coming up January 27th. It's a front wheel drive, like bump and run around here. And then they have like a full size figure eight, gut and go demolition derby. 2,000 to win there. I did talk to them. The tickets are really, they're hard to find for this show. It's $45 for the whole weekend. And I'm not sure if they're not sold out or not, because it's in Sturgis, Kentucky, and then the next day is the Redneck Rumble, and where it's $30,000 to win, and all that's going to be taking place in Sturgis, Kentucky. If you just go to the Redneck Rumble on the 28th, it's $30 a ticket. I believe DerbyNation.tv is going to be covering that one as well. So, yeah, we have some big stuff coming up in the state of Missouri. I think April 1st, I've seen that the Lebanon Indoor Show is going to be taking place then. That's one I always try to go watch. Yeah, there's some stuff going on. So let's see. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and then we're going to get to we have a discussion question for everybody. It's going to be about shifter positions, and then we're going to get to Chris after that. So just hang tight for just a second. We're going to have a quick commercial break.
Promotions is a premier motorsport promotion company specializing in demolition derby and figure eight racing. We've got over 20 years of motorsport entertainment under our belts. We are a driver's first organization. We strive to put on the most competitive, fair, and fun experience for drivers while still providing a fun and engaging experience for our fans. If you're interested in bringing motorsport entertainment to your event venue, please contact Lucky Sevens Promotions. We will be thrilled to discuss various entertainment options we can provide. Check us out on Facebook and LuckySevensPromotions.com. Lucky Sevens is always willing to add to our array of sponsorship partners. If you are in any way interested in becoming an advertising partner, do not hesitate to contact our staff. We would be happy to assist you in creating an excellent marketing venture for your company. We have a vast portfolio of sponsorship packages to fit any budget. So if you're looking for a fun, family-filled activity, check out Lucky Sevens Promotion. It's a show that you will not want to miss. 2022 was a smashing success. We ask that you join us in making 2023 even bigger and better. See everybody in 2023.
All right, we're back. Sorry, I muted myself. So this week I had a listener reach out to me, and they said, I'm new to the Demolition Derby support. I've been listening to your podcast via Spotify, and we're to our point of where we're putting our shifter in our car. And they were wanting feedback from different drivers. across the United States, if you can comment on this, but they just want to know like what you prefer in a shifter, who makes the best shifter in your opinion. Can they build their own? Is there something that would work good for a beginner? And so we're just going to discuss different types of shifters. I know whenever we first started seeing anyone using any kind of different shifter, they had like the old, looked like they cut a hole in their floor and just went like with an old straight rod or something, and it was like a push pull shifter lever. Chris might know, he might have his own shifter ways of going about it, or one of the guys listening to this, but what they prefer. But
I think every driver should use the all thread through the floor method at least once in a full size car. I don't know how the mini cars are. I don't know nothing about those, but full size, you should experience it once and then go to a aftermarket shifter. I prefer my Ski Inc. shifter. I've ran WCR and Ski. Not knocking Aaron, but every time I've ran his shifter, it's fallen off my transmission. So I went back to my Ski. I've never had a problem with it. Check your bolts before every race, though. It don't matter how long you ran. Check your bolts. I like to set mine on a bar in the middle of the car.
so like was this bar that you're talking about, would it be like a bar coming from the like a crossbar on the cage, or is it on the floorboard? Where would you put this SoCar bar at?
I think he froze.
It brought my bar. My bar.
We lost you for just a second.
My back.
Yeah.
All right. My shifter bar sits between my seat bar and my dash bar, about bottom of my ribs. I'm kind of tall.
So do you prefer like the forward for forward or reverse for reverse? I've seen videos of people have to pull their shifter back to go forward, or you push it forward to go in reverse. What's your preference on that?
I like to push it forward to go forward and pull it back for reverse. I like park lockout. My transmission doesn't have park, but I still prefer the park lockout to be there. It's a must, so you're not falling out of gear into park. It's one of the worst things derbying is falling out of gear if you don't have a good shifter.
Yeah, I've seen some people that like to go forward for forward or reverse for reverse, and I kind of see like why they would do that, because I watched some guy going flying across his car when he hit someone, and if his shifter would have went reverse when he went forward, that shifter was like slam forward. But that's the way he had it set up, and I'd say that's probably why he did it like that. Jacob, how do you run yours?
Oh, mine's pull it back to go and push it all the way forward for reverse. But I've ran the all thread in the floor, and we set it up where it hit the seat, and that's when it would go. And I've mounted them to my roof in vans before, and some guys like their shifters really, really tight when you're shifting it. I like mine almost kind of loosey-goosey. I kind of like it when I hit it. I just barely have to touch it and it goes. But most of the shifters, you can kind of set them up however you want them, which is, that's nice about all the aftermarket ones. As far as who makes the best one, it's all driver preference. I have my favorites, but I have 4 different ones, and they all work good. It's all just what the driver prefers.
I was gonna say I've seen Tyler Ray. Tyler Ray's got his, right up here on the roof. It's where he likes his.
Yeah, I ran mine like that. I didn't like it. I ran that. It was like 3 or 4 years ago. I was running a van, and the stock shifter broke, and we don't have center bars in the van. So I'm like, where the hell am I going to put this shifter? And I seen somebody years ago on YouTube that had it mounted to the roof. I'm like, well, that'll work. So we tried that, but I was always afraid I was going to get knocked across this van and hit my head on the shifter.
Take the shifter with you.
Right.
Yeah, I've just always thought that was interesting. And you see our figure eight guys, they'll have their shifters. We're starting to see shifters in figure eight cars with park lockouts and stuff like that. And they're mounting them at all kinds of different spots because they kind of want their ease of access to where a shifter would be in a derby car. They're relocating their e-brakes up there. So they're having to reach like way up forward to get their shifters. But it's just cool to see different locations and the ideas behind it for people. So I just thought we'd mention that on here for the people that was reaching out. So
yeah, you can walk around at any derby and you could, every driver's got their shifter mounted a different way. What I would tell a beginner is set it up in your car to where you're comfortable and try that. And if you don't like it, the next time move it to, something that's more comfortable for the driver.
Yeah, it's definitely something you have to play with.
yeah, and I've seen, the last thing I'll say is I was watching a YouTube video the other day, and the guy bought like a shifter from one of the manufacturing companies for the demolition derby community, and he didn't have a dash bar because he had a bench seat and he had a passenger in there, so he didn't want like the center bar, I should say. So he mounted it to his floorboard, and he actually took a video of it. And at the beginning, he was reaching down and working his shifter, and it brought back a memory because halfway through the derby, he like smacks his rider in the head, and he's like, "Hey, run my shifter for me." And it just reminded me of when Joshua was reaching down in his floorboard for the throttle cable, and Andy was steering for him pretty much. And I was like, man, that reminds me. So I don't know how good of an idea that was, but it worked.
It worked. Got it all the way down to third like that.
Yeah. Yeah, he did. Yeah, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and then we're going to get to Chris Mcdaniel. So stay tuned. Of course. Ray's Lawn and Landscaping. We offer affordable full lawn care services with landscaping, from simple mowing to designing your dream lawn. Let us do the work so you can enjoy your time during the spring, summer, and fall months. When it's cold and snowy outside, give us a call for all your snow removal services to help keep your family or your customers safe. Don't break your back or your bank. Residential or commercial property, give us a call. We are fully insured for your safety and ours. Ray's Lawn and Landscaping is located in Eldon, Missouri. Give us a call, like us on Facebook. From the driveway to the flower beds, the grass in between. At Ray's Lawn and Landscaping, we have the experience, the staff, and the equipment to get the job done right the first time. For your next project or facelift to your property, give Ray's Lawn and Landscaping a call today. All right, we're back. And so joining us this week is the driver of the number 247. Some people's called him the David that slayed the Goliath. He's known as the headhunter here in Missouri. It's Chris Mcdaniel. Thank you, Chris, for joining us on the Crashed It podcast.
Thanks for having me, buddy.
So, kind of give all of our listeners, everybody that's listening, how did you get started with Demolition Derby?
Family, a lot like you guys, uncles, parents involved in it. That's about it. I started whenever I was 15 and 16, same year. Ran Richland twice, and we took a break. My dad ran for 10 years through the 90s and early 2000s, and we took about a 10-year break. And this is year number 10 for me.
Awesome. So, this picture I've got up, I believe that's a photo from your dad's. That's your dad's car, right?
Yeah, that's at State Fair in 2004.
Yeah. So it was a family thing for you as well.
Oh yeah, I think when we moved back from Vegas, I think my dad ran in '92 or '93, and Big John and Uncle Michael were just starting to run. Uncle Billy, they were just starting to run around that time too. So they kind of all got into it about the same time.
So is that where your passion for the sport of demolition derby came from as well? Because driving for 10 years, I mean, what makes it so special for you?
Um, the fans, I like seeing the fans. I like talking to the people before the Derby. Not necessarily the other drivers. I don't mind that. I mingle a little bit, but I like talking to the people in the crowd. And the crowd. I like seeing the crowd get up, whether it's for me or for anybody else. That's why we're there, is the crowd.
What's your favorite memory from when you were starting out? Just like from your very first derby, maybe? Is there something that sticks out in your mind that you're like, holy crap, I gotta try this again? Or is there something that was special to you?
Yeah, yeah. I got two things. I'll start with the one Jacob was a part of. So we built that Crown Vic and took it over to California almost 10 years ago, and we were supposed to go get it on with DMP, but I was the only one that went out there and did anything. And full track Jake Reed. Well, when I did, I broke my A-arm purchase. I didn't know how the guys were getting their bumpers up so high. I didn't have a whole lot of help starting out. So I cut my A-arm purchase on that 80s Ford, and I lowered them and welded them back together. Well, when I hit Jake, they exploded, and the A-arms were sitting against the headers. That's why we were having such a hard time steering. But doing them A-arms, I never did that again.
Was that the same where I was standing at the gate and you busted through that gate almost?
No, that was a couple of years later. Whenever I had that Lincoln that I won Eldon with, I took it over to California and squeezed some life out of it. And yeah, Jake tried shoving me through the gate. I think we sent Joe Martin's wife flying off the gate. Now they're pretty particular about people being near that gate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll never forget that derby. Everybody was walking around from Eldon and local guys that were going to go after DMP, and Chris was like, all right, let's do it. And when we got out there, everybody else got fucking scared, but old Chris didn't, and we had a hell of a fun time out there. I was like, God damn, he's really doing it.
We did it. Jake yells at me and says, stay on him. We didn't have to stay on him. He stayed on us. Parked us up on the wall. It was fun. Good learning experience. Running against Jake those years, real tough, and some of them DMP guys really helped me for whenever I stepped out of that realm where I didn't belong and got into the stock cars where I did belong. And it's just been all good since then.
Yeah. So I think everybody remembers that California derby, because one thing anyone in the whole United States, the whole state of Missouri, will say about Chris Mcdaniel is he won't back down from nobody. And everyone got to see it that day. So, I mean, because Jake Reed, he's hitting his prime, man. When he shows up to the track, everyone's like, man, that guy's going to win the Derby. And least you've held your own and tried to put up a fight the best you could against them. And
Yeah, they kicked our asses, but I mean, if you don't try, they're just gonna win the Derby. So, I mean, you gotta take it to them.
Yep. To beat the best, you got to beat. To be the best, you got to beat the best. I think that's
Yep,
how
that's
that goes.
anybody or anywhere. It don't matter who it is.
So, over the years, did you develop an on-track rival or anyone that you sticks out in your mind that is a big rival for you on the track?
Uh, no, it would have been Jake, but I mean, we're cool. I talk to Jake when I see him. I don't have any hard feelings. It's Derby, you know what I mean? He was at the top, and I was trying to knock the top dog down. But Kevin DeGraffenreid, we kind of got it on there for a couple of years, but we've made up, and things have been a whole lot better for us both since then.
Heck yeah. And for those that don't know, uh, shit. So I want to talk a little bit about your passion. I thought I had a video here, but I guess not. So this was from Colin Campbell, and he said you guys were driving at Eldon, Missouri. It's a rainy day, and in this, I mean, you could tell you were just amped up because he's looking around all over. It's kind of a hard video to follow, but every time like you'd see someone, your head was like on a swivel the whole time, and you're grabbing gears, man. And you broke steering during this derby. And at the end of the video, you can clearly hear you come out. You're like, dude, we did that without steering. And the flagman's like, your steering broke? You're like, yeah. How's it feel to make it through heat without steering and go on and compete later on that night?
I felt pretty good. We had just put power steering on that piece of shit. In the first hit, we hit that Cadillac, and I mean, it just ruined everything. We lost all steering. We lost the power steering pump. It was sitting against the engine. I don't even know how. But we came out of the heat, and Big John, we all know him as Big John, Steve Porter, he's my uncle. He threw a chain around my steering and wrapped it around my fender and then looped the chain inside the car with me. And I held on to the chain for the rest of the night to keep my steering straight.
Yeah, and I was cracking up watching that video. I was hoping it'd play because it looked like to me you had like a chain with a bolt in it that was attached to the cage bar, and that's what Colin was holding on with. And was that a helmet cam or something?
Yeah, he had his GoPro on and he mounted it to his helmet. He didn't have it tight. That's why the view was bad. The first hit, the camera spit down and picked up some water from the rain. And I don't know where the feature video is, but when Jake Reed was pounding us against the wall, we had the battery come out. It landed in Colin's lap and was sparking, and we had tore a fuel line, and there was fuel spraying everywhere. And I'm reaching down, trying to put my fuel line back together, and he's hollering at me what to do with the battery. Like, put it back in place, man. I'm thinking we're still going to be running, but, today I'd reach out and break my stick as soon as that shit started happening. So we're lucky we didn't catch it on fire that night. But the passion and the head swivel both comes from playing football and basketball. I'm a defensive-minded person, even though the derby track sometimes it looks like I'm offensive-minded. But I just like to keep my head on a swivel. You'll take a bad shot if you don't. I took a bad shot at Turkey Fest because I was being lazy and didn't have my head on a swivel, and it ended up putting me out.
Yeah, and one more thing, Colin, man, he was cracking me up through that video. Every time you'd make a hit, he'd be like, "Oh yeah." I mean, you could hear him just like, "Yeah." Was that his first time riding with you, or is he just that energetic? Or
he's that energetic. He's a motorsports guy, but that was his first time riding, and kind of like Jake, it was his last time riding with me. that car did that to people for some reason. So I think a lot of his hype was also he was trying to keep himself hyped up in the moment because he's a control person. when you get in that passenger seat, you have no control over the situation. So if you're a control person like that, passenger seat's not for you. You want to be driving or in the stands.
So when you go to build a car, do you have a favorite part that sticks out in your mind of the build process?
I like the whole build. I mean, stripping them sucks, obviously, especially the new styles with all the wiring. But I pretty well like the whole build. I don't know that I've built two cars exactly the same, so it's something different every time. Whether we're trying something different or we didn't like something that we did before, so we're going back to the way we were doing it prior. But I like the whole build.
Chris,
What
I,
did you
I
think
like
of
to
the?
think,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I like to think of you as like the guy out there that I want to say does the most with the least. If you know what I mean. Like there's guys out there that's got a ton of money
He's
in their
saying you suck.
car. No, I'm saying there's guys out there, a ton of money in their car, a ton of money in the engine, transmission setup, everything like that. And like you don't have all that, but you still go out there and you're one of the guys that's putting on the show night in, night out, just about every show we go to. Like how does that make you feel? Like you can go out there and put on a show and you don't need all that stuff.
We talk about that in my garage quite a bit, especially when we get to thinking we need something that we really don't. Um, we tossed the slider a couple of years ago. It ended up costing me a lot of money, broke a lot of parts, and we got away from that, sold all the mod stuff, and have been doing better since. Went back to stock drive shaft. I have a way I like to set them up for Chevys and Fords. They set up differently. So, and thank you. I take that as a big compliment. You don't have to dump a ton of money into it. Now, cars are going to be expensive. If you're going through cars a lot, you're going to have that. But you don't have, if you're taking care of your equipment in and out and you're going through it and you're not doing a ton of silly ass shit on the track, then you're not going to be spending a whole bunch of money. You don't have to spend a whole bunch of money. And that's what some of these young drivers out there need to know is that as long as you have reliable equipment, you don't have to have the most expensive equipment. It just needs to be reliable. Jake sold me an engine for $350. I first started. It was a little old 307. They have forged pistons and crank in them. They're good running engine, and that thing just didn't want to die. It had a lifeline of like $4,600 when it died. So I mean, a little bit cheap engine made a ton of money. Ben Porter made some money with it. I made some money with it. I don't think Jake ever got to run it, but me and Ben ran shit out of it.
Yeah, and the crazy thing about that motor is that motor actually ran a sawmill before it was a Derby engine. So it
and it
ran days and months at a time. Yeah. So that right
there,
that was the crazy.
It did not seem to get hot, but I cracked the block under the intake after all the years of running it. So it may have just finally been wore out. I think Jeff City was the last time I ran it. Had the 3-wheel Wonder Caprice, and it took third place. But I think it was blown up when I ran it there. I know it was blown up when I ran it in Eldon. I just kind of turned a blind eye and loaded the car up and went, and ended up spitting coolant and shit out of the header into my passenger seat. One of the only times I didn't have a passenger, I spit stuff all over the passenger seat out of the engine. It's hot.
Yeah, I liked how you brought that up. It's all about having reliable equipment. I listen to a lot of podcasts and a lot of different drivers from across the country talk on the Derby podcast, and I can't remember who it was, but it was on the Crash Course podcast, and he was talking about every time he's went and got a super expensive motor, when they get hot, they don't seem to be as reliable as something that maybe doesn't have as much horsepower, but it gets the job done. And he was sitting, and on the podcast, he was saying, like, it doesn't matter if your tires are spinning 60 mile an hour or 20 mile an hour. When they're spinning, they're not going any faster. The car's not moving any faster. And I thought that was a good point, how you brought up that as long as the equipment's reliable and you feel confident in whatever you're pulling on the track end's going to last through, that's what matters. And that's a good point of advice for anyone that's starting out, is just be confident in your stuff and double check, triple check all your bolts and stuff like you said earlier.
Yep.
Great piece of advice.
Yep. And it don't matter how much time you spend on your build. If you didn't spend any time on your drivetrain, you'll go out there and be done in a minute or two. The drivetrain's the most important thing out there. It's your heartbeat. If you're not turning ponies, you're not turning anything.
Yeah. Drivetrain, and a lot of people will swear by it, the gears and stuff like that really wake up a motor. And they all have points. If you listen to enough people talk in the demolition derby community, you can learn a lot about the sport and how to make your car better with a little bit less. So what's your favorite shot to give whenever you're on the track? Do you like to give the head-on shot, or I see you give a lot of head-on stuff. I don't know if that's just planned or if that's just where they're at the time. And is there a certain shot that you like to give more than the others?
Wheel shots are starting to grow on me, but I don't mind a head up shot. I'm not a fan of the pointy bumpers. I ran Ben's pointy bumper on my wagon last year, and I liked it, but I like my flat bumper better, and I'll go head to head with my flat bumper on all day long.
It's probably a little more forgiving to the frame. Is that why? Or
I think, I don't know if it is for sure, but I think it's just a leverage thing that pointy hangs out there a little bit further, and that flat bumper is all the way up against the core support. So that flat bumper get underneath that pointy bumper, it's going to lift you.
so during the derby, have you ever made a mistake that you regretted making? Like after the derby, you're like, man, that was a rookie mistake. Or have you ever ran into anything on the derby track that you're like, man, I should have known better than that? Or, I should have bolted this down? Or
I've had a couple wiring issues. We had a power wire pinch. I don't know how it pinched, but it pinched in behind the battery in Eldon like 2 years ago. And then me and Cody Admire caught fire in California when we had that car Andy was talking about, that where Jake tried pushing us through the gate, that Lake Pet car. Cody was getting rowdy in my seat, and I guess I didn't have my fuel pump wire strapped up, and that bad boy slid down and pinched. And I mean, we caught a blaze. Cody had some racing gloves on that were insulated, so he's sitting there holding my wire while Jake is running up to us asking us what's going on. We got fire still burning in the car, that wire, and the car's still running at this point. It hasn't died yet. And we just asked him, can we make it up to the next heat? We'll just change the wire real quick. We pinched the wire. So that goes back to double checking your stuff. Make sure all your wires are nipped up, all your fuel lines are put up, so nothing can be getting pinched or in a pinch point when the car starts to bend. So that will put you down. It'll shut you down quicker than anything. You may not even make it on the track. We were lucky we made it to the track and actually pulled onto it. If we hadn't, then we probably would have been loading up on the trailer afterwards.
so what do you think about I don't know, this is a question that Jacob usually asks. What do you think about the evolution of demolition derby? Because you've been derbying for 10 years. You kind of got to see how it went to more mod, and now it's back more where it's a stock build. How do you feel about the evolution of the sport? Do you like where it's going? Or
I like where we're at. Like your guys' rules. Your rules, I think filthy rules are pretty close to your guys's. I like that. I like those rule sets. They're not too far out there. You can get into it pretty inexpensively if you use your head. So, and that's where it's at. Mods is expensive. I tried jumping into mods and that was a mistake. But that's where the sport was at. Basically, it was evolving all into mods. Everything local had turned into mod rules. So it was that or travel. And we don't really travel too much. If you know us, we like to support the local show to help make sure it stays alive. We don't want to see it go anywhere. It's been, we've been watching it for 30 years now. So that's just kind of, I like where it's at with the rules. I'd like to see some more young people get into it, but I understand it's hard.
Yeah, that's one thing about you guys. You've always supported the local shows, and all these guys want to go run these big shows, and hell, we run the big shows. But when we ran, if Eldon had a derby, you damn well better, we'll be there no matter what. And you've kind of always been that way since you guys got back into it. And we just need more guys like you, that will support the local stuff. And that's where everybody has to start, and I think the youth stuff will pick back up, and maybe we can get some of the younger people into it. And everybody wants to win right away, and it's hard. It's hard. It's this, I don't know, society now is everybody wants to win right away. And if you don't, then we'll just find something else to do instead of struggling through. And I tell you what, when you win after you struggle, it means a hell of a lot more. So that's what I try to tell my kids when they're playing sports. I mean, if it's hard, it's going to feel better when you do good. So.
Yep. Absolutely. It's sweet when you've been struggling and you finally get that win. It's sweet. It took us 5 years to get one. And since then, we don't put hardware on the shelf at a crazy rate, but it's a nice steady rate and we like it. But I'm going to go back to like you said, everybody wants to win now. That's probably one of the biggest issues outside of politics in Demolition Derby is that, someone get their ass kicked for 1, 2, 3 shows or have some struggles with their mechanics, a couple shows, and they just are done. They'll sell all their stuff and they'll walk away from it. They won't, it's hard to get right within a year, especially if you don't have like the family that's been doing it for years or a dad that is balls deep in it, winning shows already. If you don't have that, then it's really hard to come in and win it. And those guys still earn their wins. They still have to go out there and drive. They still got to make sure their shit's right. So there's a lot to it. Winning is the bonus to it all.
Right. And that's what we tell everybody, it's just get out there and earn your keep, get in the seat, and good things will come.
Yep. Time is your friend.
Yeah, I've always said there's no substitute for seat time. You see the people that's been driving for years, and it looks like when you're watching the Derby that they're outsmarting their competitor, but it's just the seat time. I mean, they've seen that before, and they know what someone else is going to do before they even do it. I mean, that's something that you learn while you're on the track. And when you learn that, oh, if I'm in this driver's seat, I can only see a roof sign at this junction of the Derby. People don't understand how these drivers are, what they go through until you actually do it, or if you're in a car with them. And you just got to keep at it. Keep at it. And I liked how you said that you're all about running local stuff, because that's where it all starts, is when you're out there and there's a little kid in the stands watching you. And you might be out there and they don't know who you are, but they might become your biggest fan that night, just watching you drive and the way you interact with people on the track. And that's why I've always said it's so important as a Derby car driver to be professional at the track, because you never know who's watching you. These little kids, they look up to you, and that's something I've always said. And luckily, the last couple of years, I felt like everyone's been awesome sports about the whole Derby, and everyone understands it's all about crashing cars and having fun. And that's what you need. That's what brings people in when they see, oh my God, that guy's having a time of his life out there. He's crashing cars and having fun doing it. And I thought that was an important point that you brought out.
Yeah,
So
I always say, you know, it's we don't know how lucky we are. I mean, to have a Derby, for most guys that run around here is within 20 minutes of their house. Some of us even closer. And you look out, you know, you look through the country, and there's demolition derbies are dying all over. And we're very, very lucky to have one right here.
Multiple right here, not just one.
Yeah,
multiple. You know, we had 3 of them last year, so that's nice. I love it. I think since I started back running and quit helping with it, I was helping with it before running. I think I've only missed one show, and we worked on the car up until an hour before the show, and I finally just pulled the plug on it and sent everybody home so we could go watch the Derby.
Yep. But even then, you guys were still there supporting. So, I mean,
oh yeah,
that's something right there.
It's real bad when someone reaches out. Go ahead, Jacob.
Well, it's just like we were talking about earlier in the year. Like, you know, we went to Richland, and they ain't had a Derby in 7 years or something like that. And
I ran the last Derby there.
How long ago was that?
I think you said it was 7 years. I ran it with my Ford wagon after the rebuild, so that was year 2 for us. So almost 8 years. It'd be 8 years this year. So
like we were telling the fair board down there, it's been 8 years. So, you know, the kids that were there whenever they were 16-year-olds, you know, that's when, you know, a lot of them get like, ooh, that looks fun, you know, and I want to go watch that. And so them guys were 8 years old. They don't remember a demolition derby. So, I mean, you got to have derbies there that's got kids in the stands that are 13, 14, you know, that want to get out there the next year and, you know, maybe even try a compact hobo car, you know. That's how a lot of guys get started, or just, you know, a big car that just stock, you know. So you got to have derbies too. It's kind of a revolving circle, you know. If you don't have derbies, then you ain't going to get the youth involved, and, you know, it's.
And
but they're ready.
And you can't be holding all the secrets. You can't be gatekeeping. You know, as Derby drivers, we can't do that. You know, we want to open the gates to as many people as we can. We want it to be competitive for everybody. You know, we want everybody on the same level. What's winning a Derby if you've got the best shit and the best build and everyone else there with shit?
Yeah, I've always told everybody, come look at my cars. I can outdrive you. And I guess that's just my confidence in myself, but I'll help anybody. I'll build cars that are just like mine. And, you know, that should make you a better driver at the end of the day, you know, if you're running against quality stuff. I've had guys come over to my house just to look at my car. So, I mean, my doors are always open.
Same here.
Speaking of that, that's kind of actually how I got better at building my figure 8 cars, is because I was just throwing stuff together, and Jacob lets me jump in his car and I place it, and I'm like, what the heck? He's got all kinds of cool stuff in here. So, yeah, that's one thing I've always said. If you want to learn, it's always good to learn from someone that's doing good. And there was times I just didn't pay enough attention. So if you buy like a pre-built car, sometimes like a pre-ran car, sometimes that's the best way to learn, just on what other people's done.
And it's crazy too, like, you know, back in the day, you would walk around the pits at a Derby, and even Eldon. I mean, back when I was, I don't know, 14 or 15, people would tarp their cars. You know, if you walked by somebody's car too slow, they were pissed at you, you know, and it's totally different now. It seems like everybody's helps each other out, and everybody pretty much knows what everybody has. And it's just cool to see.
Yeah. So whenever it's funny that you say that, whenever we ran that Vic over in California that you rode in, we're friends with Zach Wardenhausen. He came over to check on us that night. Well, my dad was up under my hood, and Zach walked up on my dad, and my dad pulled up out of that hood and was like, whoa, 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 hey, hey. And I'm like, hey, well, hey, things are different these days. Plus, this is our friend. He hadn't seen Zach since Zach was little. It'd been a long time.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yes, it's a lot different. We're a lot friendlier. I don't care. Come look at my car. I want to come look at your car. I want to know how you see the rules because we all see them differently.
Yeah. And I mean, there's enough stuff on YouTube and TikTok these days that you can learn some stuff just on what they're seeing, like what creators are doing. And I'm like, man, I learned a lot about pressure and stuff like that, stuff I didn't even really think of. I actually learned most of it from I was just watching what Tommy Stark was doing, but when I used to go there, I'd see what he's doing. I was like, holy crap, you think of that stuff? And he's like, oh yeah. But you get on YouTube these days, or even like TikTok, and you'll see different ways of doing things that may work better for you. And I think Snapchat, I see a lot of stuff on Snapchat too that I'm like, holy smokes, I never thought about that. Speaking of that, I just got a snap like 10 minutes ago from someone. I'm not going to say it on here because they're probably watching, but their stuff's looking really good for this year. And I'm like, man, I just can't wait to watch all the new builds come out.
Tell Henry to stop sending snaps while we're live.
That wasn't him, actually. But he snaps me a lot too. So, what's one way you think that Demolition Derby could improve or get better? Like what in Missouri? Like what do you think it's missing? What do you have an idea that could make it better?
Payouts. I think if now I understand it's hard because I've kind of been towards the promotion side of it, but payouts. If you could figure out a way to pay more of your drivers in the feature, now one and done's a little bit different ball game too. But if you're running heats, you can figure out how to pay more of your drivers in the feature, a lot like you guys do in Figure 8. I think that would help retain some big car drivers, especially some youth drivers that are just on the bubble, sitting 5th, 6th place.
So, Chris, with that, so what do you think about entry fees? So we try to keep our entry fees, I mean, pretty much as cheap as the cheapest you're going to find anywhere. You go to any other derby, any other promoter, you're paying $50, $60, $70 to run. What's your opinion on paying more to win more, or you guys kind of like it? You kind of like it the way it is now, or what's your opinion?
I like the 35 and 40. I think it averages 40 for you guys, but I like that. Like you said, it is 50 and 60 to run a lot of other places, and a lot of those other places still have some of the same payouts as you guys. If we were to pay more for a bigger purse, that's something I totally understand. So I get that. I don't mind that. That's not an issue with me. We were happy to pay if it's a bigger purse, or you're paying down more spots with your big purse. I'll pay that all day long.
It's something that me and Joshua's been talking about, and just I've been feeling out drivers pretty much all winter, just kind of seeing everybody's, what they think of it.
Yeah, and I think that's why you see them big payouts across the country, is because look at what they're paying just to run the show, and that doesn't even count the hotel and getting the car there and all the other stuff that's involved with that. And the entry fee would definitely have to contribute to a higher payout. I think in my mind, I'm not a very good person to ask this way, but I have nothing to do with that aspect of it. Good answer though. It's always nice to hear what drivers think could improve the derbies around here. That's stuff that I know Jacob and Joshua at Lucky Sevens or any other promoter that may listen to this podcast, really, they need to hear it. They need to hear from every driver what they think could improve it. That way they could put it into action sometime.
And it's funny that you talked about paying down further, Chris. I just commented on a post on Facebook. The Sam Williams and their South Dakota show or whatever, the compacts teams they're paying 3 places. I commented on there. I wish it paid down further because I mean, you're paying $200 a person to run that show, and it's 12 hours away. He's like, well, the winners after that, all that matters. But it sure helps if you can throw me $500 to help me get out there, and help with a little bit of the pay. So I'm totally in agreement with you on paying down.
So do you have anyone you want to thank? What? Go ahead.
The paying down, it's hard. The payouts are hard. That's probably one of the hardest things as promoters, other than organizing it, is getting your payouts and making your guys happy with your payouts and your trophies. So that's understandable to be working towards and not always be able to maybe meet your goal that you're working towards.
And something that lost audio halfway through, I think.
I can hear you.
Something I wanted to mention though, while you guys were speaking about payouts and stuff, it kind of reminded me. We didn't really go into if you sponsor Lucky Sevens promotions. I know this is jumping back a little bit, but I forgot to bring it back up. Where that money goes, and I think Jacob or Josh will tell you exactly where the money goes. That your sponsor, like what they're going to do with their sponsorship money.
Yeah, Joshua, since you just pleasantly graced us with your presence, you can speak now.
All right. Yeah, I didn't want to step on toes or anything. But yeah, like Jonathan said, any sponsorship money goes 100% back to the drivers. Most season-long sponsorships, we use that money for like a points payout. So that, that money goes directly to our season-long drivers or the drivers that support us the most. But if sometimes for like the Miller County Fair, we got a lot of local support for that. And they want that money to be used just for that show. So, that's where we usually get, the big Mad Dog purses from, is just local businesses wanting to step up for that single show. And again, it's just, we just push that all right back to the drivers.
All right, back to Chris. I'm sorry. I got kind of off subject there, but like we said earlier in the show, you can go on Lucky Sevens Promotions and on their Facebook page and reach out to Jacob or Joshua. If you hear this and you're thinking about sponsoring, all the money just goes straight back to the drivers. So, Chris, what's for the newcomers, and you've already gave them pretty good advice, but is there something that you would spend most of your time on when you're building a car at first? Like, is there a part of the build that you would spend the most time on when you're first starting out?
Just make sure everything's tidy. If it can come loose, it will come loose. It's going to come loose. So just double check it, triple check it. Don't be scared to use some thread locker.
Yeah. And if you're younger, please if you don't know how to weld, have someone weld you up a good cage. I was kind of cracking up, Chris, when I was watching that video Colin posted, and your cage, I was kind of cracking up about the way it was set up in the back. It looked like you had one little single round bar going across the back, and I was like, man, how times have changed. But
yeah, round sucks welding too. Square's way easier. We didn't use round after that car in the wagon, the first wagon.
Yeah.
And square since.
Do you have anyone you want to thank for allowing you to do what you do?
Yeah, my wife and my kids for putting up with my shit. And her parents live next door to us, so I'm glad that my in-laws like coming and supporting me and wondering what I'm doing. Occasionally, her dad will turn me on to a car. Whether I can go get it or not is another thing. But Big John, Steve Porter, my uncle, he's probably outside of my immediate family. He's my biggest supporter. He'll do anything for me. He's right there running with me. I was able to bring him back to the track after being away from it for a few years. So he's been busy working in his garage, getting some stuff done. He took his build to another level for himself last year, and be stepping it up again this year. So I like to see that. I've been in his garage less, and he's been doing a lot more of the work, and it's looking good. I'm proud of him. Cody Badmeyer is always down to help me. If I'm struggling to get to the track, he makes sure I get to the track, especially if I've went ahead and given up. He'll just show up and we'll get to work. And my brother's always right there by my side. Whether he's mad or not, he's always right there. So without those people, specifically, I don't derby. You guys don't see me with the car at the track. So if you like watching me run, tell one of them guys thanks when you see them next.
So this next part of our podcast segment's called "The Picture's Worth 1,000 Words." Is basically where I just reach out to the guest on the podcast and ask them to send me 5 pictures that are meaningful to them. That way they can explain it to the ones that are tuning in on YouTube or the ones that will watch us later on YouTube. Right now we got a picture of, what's this one, Chris?
That's a first gen Monte Carlo, 1971. Samantha's dad gave me to run. It was a parts car that he couldn't use to restore anything with, so I finished it off and gave it some life. That's Lebanon Team Show, outdoor, May 2017, I think. Me and Riley Robinson ran the 2-man team show. That's after my heat. She was pretty much done after that. That was a good time. That's one of the best times I've ever had in a car. I almost rolled the car over. I had one of the guys I was running with that won the heat. We were just on the bubble on the heat and the consolation. Riley won Mad Dog that night, but had one of my other teammates get me free, and I whipped it around and parked myself right back in the same spot just to smoke the guy up against the wall. And that's why it looks the way it looks. But that was fun. Bumper was high. I think that's my highest bumper.
Yeah, I mean, the smile says it all. You're like, yeah, I made junk, baby. So what do you think of the team show aspect?
I loved it. Now, I think that our format changed on the fly because about half the teams didn't show up. So I think we ran with like 16 or 18 teams, and it was supposed to be like 32 or something. One day event, we all ran. We ran heats like a normal derby, and just like you taking your top 2 out of a normal heat, they took the top 2 teams out of each heat and took them to the feature, and I think top 2 or 3 out of the consolation too. So it was a really good derby. There was several good builds. It was a light weld build, I think. So we were a little underbuilt. I misinterpreted the rules a little bit.
Awesome. So did you get this next one popped up yet?
Yeah, that's a winning car.
Describe this one for our listeners. You say you won in this one?
Yeah, that's 2017 Miller County Fair. I took first place. That was the first time I'd ever been sponsored. Doc Cathy sponsored me and brought her a trophy.
Heck yeah.
Does this have the old 307 or 283?
Yeah, it's got the old 307 in it.
That was the money making motor from Ben and Jacob, and came from Salem.
Yeah, we talked about that a little bit ago.
That's what happens when you're late to the podcast.
That's all right.
But yeah, that thing made some money, it sounded like.
Yeah, it pulled me a couple trophies before she died. This is Miller County Fair last year, right? That Mad Dog.
Yeah. So
That was an old junk 305 that Big John had. That thing ran for 45 minutes at the Turkey Fest the year prior, and I couldn't believe it. So I think it was about junk at this derby is why I was running it hard. I kicked the spark plug off my distributor right before they dropped the flag.
how'd you like that Mad Dog cutout?
Oh,
That
dude,
thing to me is sweet.
it's hanging from my ceiling in my living room. I love it.
How do you kick your spark plug wire loose on the before the green flag? You in there kicking like a dog or what?
All right, so my throttle was getting stuck. I had a mount made for it on my intake, and I had it had pulled back a little bit. So I was trying to kind of kick it back up because it was causing it to idle too high. And when I kicked it up, I kicked the spark plug off and didn't fix the idle at the same time. So we had a heat problem immediately.
So then whenever that happens, you're like, all right, well, I know what my plan is from here on out. I got to try to win a mad dog, or
Yeah, that was it. That was it. I told Cody was in the car with me, and I told him we was going to go out and just kind of take it easy because car was about junk. I didn't really want to break anything, so we was just going to go putt around in the mud. It was pretty wet that night, and when that happened, I just kind of flipped the switch and didn't say anything to him. But yeah, that Mad Dog mentality is is what happened. He wasn't very happy.
That's awesome.
Yeah. That's one of them plans change on the fly moments.
Yeah, you got to be able to change the plan on the fly.
Oh, I love it when your tranny starts slipping or you bust a radiator. Shit changes quick.
Urgency.
Like, well, fuck it. Here we go.
Yep, urgency kicks in.
So, what's this one of?
This is my okay. So I guess I was wrong. That last car, the Mad Dog, was from the May show, the first Eldon show last year. This is from the Miller County, the second Eldon show from last year. We got second place in this thing. Lost the transmission. We had strap around transmission. Pulled the plug off the side of the transmission and drained it all right there on the track when it bent.
So does that say SRH?
Yeah, SRH, supporting radical habits.
Nice. I was like, wonder what that stands for. Love it. Supporting radical habits.
Yep.
Dang, last one.
That's the last thousand show last
Well, we're losing you.
year. And then this is just us sending that piece of shit Buick off. Ruined the back of it. Front probably could. Over there?
We lost you for a second.
All right. My back?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, that's just the old Buick. Last run on Eldon last year. Me and my brother. Is junk afterwards. The back of it was junk. Front was still good.
So as a Buick, what was the year?
95? 95 Buick Roadmaster.
Master.
Good cars. They're good cars. I like them.
So what's the spade?
I see you driving a lot of GMs. Do you prefer the GMs over the Ford?
I like building the GMs over the Fords. I guess I like fixing them over the Fords too. Fords kind of suck sometimes on fixing, pulling them back out instead of down. You don't pull a Chevy out, you just pull it back down. I mean, it rarely ever does it crinkle on top of itself or push. There's no boxes for it to push. The way your rules are, a lot of people don't like these cars because they have the open channel mid frames in them, and with your down tube rules, it doesn't even matter. You're in front of the cross member. It's solid in front of the cross member, and then you have another one by the back body mount where it's also solid. So the cage and the down tubes, if you do them right, the middle section doesn't matter. I mean, it will eventually belly, but it's not going to dump because of that. So I like the Chevys. Building them is way easier than building the Fords. You know, they call the Fords cookie cutters, but really the Chevys are the cookie cutters.
Yeah. We just had Destin Sanford on here last week, and I guess he's got a GM wagon, pretty sure it's a new style. He was complaining about that it's not so cookie cutter, so it's interesting to see the difference. You got quite a lot of years of building these GMs, so that may have something to do with it.
Yeah, we pretty well. I mean, that's what my dad built. He had gotten into the B body GMs as he was getting out, and so we kind of knew how to build them already. Just adapted them to your rules and some of the stuff that he used to do to them to make them hold up and not belly out. And they just have been well, and they're pricey. To be honest, for nobody like them, they're pricey as hell. The price needs to come down a little bit.
Are you ready for your rapid fire questions?
Yep. Who's rattling them off, Josh?
Are you right? Is it me? Yeah, I'll do it. You ready? Because I'm not.
Yep.
Give me
Well, I thought that's why you're coming on. You getting your segment in.
Yeah, getting his part, doing your part.
just my spidey senses were tingling.
Yeah.
Give me a second here.
Well, I was thinking of that. You guys got anything else for Chris?
I do. So, growing up, Chris and I and Joshua and Jonathan, we all from the same town. We all love basketball, and we did a little intramural league at the YMCA. And Chris, whenever he was in high school, I loved to watch him play because he was a million miles a minute. And so we asked him to play on the team, and we go to the YMCA, and Chris plays the exact same way. 1,000-mile-an-hour, cracking me up the whole time. And whenever you were talking earlier about the Derby, how he kind of, turns his head all over. That's how he reminds me of him on the floor. I just wanted to mention that for everybody that doesn't know Chris personally. That's how he is in everything he does, it seems like. So
Yep.
He's all out. He is all out the whole time.
My dad, between my dad growing up, he beat up on us in sports, like you said earlier, no easy wins, Jake. And then Alan Schwantes, a lot of people didn't like him in school, but I loved him. And he pushed you harder to make you better. And that a lot of that is from him.
I seen him Saturday. He's coaching a third grade boys basketball team.
Nice. His son playing, I think.
Yep.
Good. Yeah, he's an awesome basketball coach, and he's just an awesome life coach in general. And I loved having him.
I got one more question. I don't know if you guys have touched on it, but at derbies, I always see you wearing tie-dye. I'm pretty sure I know the answer, but what's up with that? Is it superstition or something?
No superstition. Samantha was bored because I was in the garage building derby cars. We spent a lot more time out there getting started than what we do now. It don't take near as much time to get anything done. But so she was bored and was looking for a hobby, so she started tie-dyeing. Well, she decided to start tie-dyeing the derby colors. She made us all shirts first year and whatnot. And so she makes me a new shirt every year. She's made a couple for Big John and Cody and my brother, and we wear them to support her supporting us.
And she's made a business out of that, right?
Yeah, pretty well. I don't know the name of it off the top of my head. Tie-dye by Sam, I think. Jonathan's wife would know.
Yeah, I would know because my wife buys the shit.
And,
by Sam.
and y'all's mom would know too.
Yeah.
She loves it. It's good stuff.
Oh yeah, she'll post something on Facebook, and it's like who can get to the post of mine first. We actually had a freaking sheet, tie-dye sheet for a while that she made us. My wife brought that thing home. She's like, check this out. And I'm like, are you freaking serious? Freaking big old tie-dye sheet. And so how much does that cost? She goes, don't even worry about it.
Yeah.
All right,
But
Chris,
yeah,
here we
tie-dye
go.
by Sam.
Yeah, figure I'd give you a cheap plug in there for her.
Thanks,
All
brother.
right, here we
Appreciate
go. Here's your rapid fire. These are just short and sweet answers. You can make them long like our listener did or our speaker did last time. Whatever you're feeling like talking about. So here we go. Do you have any superstitions or rituals like before the Derby?
No, I just try to relax a little bit before I get going. Bubble guts, whatnot. I used to puke. I don't puke no more.
What's your favorite part of the build?
The whole thing. I like the whole build, besides stripping it.
What do you do for a living?
Heating and cooling. Back working for Jeff Rogers at Rogers Heating and Air. Come check us out for all your heating and cooling needs.
What do you do, or are you on a team, and like what is it and who's on it?
I guess you could say. I mean, I ran a team show, so my actual team would be Riley because he's the only one who's ran a team show with me. So, I mean, he is my technical teammate. But Big John is my teammate. I mean, we've ran quite a few shows together. And ironically enough, when we pull heats, we usually pull heats together. So, just him. Me and him.
Who's your biggest fan?
Might be him if it's not my wife.
All right. Who's your favorite Derby driver?
Ooh. I used to really, really enjoy Uncle Michael running just because he would send it all the time. I'm going to have to just go with Uncle Michael just because of the memories, whatever comes to mind first, and that's the one.
Do you have a favorite paint scheme that you've done or that you've seen?
Yeah, I kind of like this paint scheme I've been doing with that Buick that Jonathan showed, kind of accent paint it black and then accent the little welds, the doors welded, the hood mounts, the plates in the back, small stuff. I kind of like that. I need to get a new roof sign to match my shit though.
Describe your driving style in one word.
Methodical. It's changed.
What's one thing you would change about the sport?
Can't change politics. That's just the way that it is. I like for it to be easier for people to get into. Someone just wants to build a car and go. It's just not like it used to be. So just if kind of like Jacob, I don't mean to get long on this one, kind of like Jacob alluded to about the switch state driving, build a car, bring a guy in, something like that, but for people that maybe haven't ran before or are familiar with the sport, but don't know as much about it, something like that.
When and where was your best driving performance?
That the Derby where Jake tried pushing me through the gate in that Lincoln, California. You guys, I think you guys were getting your feet wet with the big cars. You guys helped Ernie out over there. My heat, specifically my heat. I didn't have much of a car left after winning with it, and it was soft, but we squeezed out. We squeezed out enough to make the rest of the drivers quit, and we got the trophy and the money. There was only $20 left because they had the time limit on, 20 minutes, or after 10 minutes or something, the purse started dropping, and we were 18 minutes. We were the longest heat of the night, and the rest of the guys just gave up. And there was $20 left of the purse for me, but I have the trophy. It's a neat trophy. It's unlike the rest of them I have. So that one, there was some good drivers. Zach Wardenhausen, Jake Reed, TJ Johns were in that heat.
Yeah, that's a good one. What's the most important part of the sport in your opinion? Like, what separates the winners and the losers?
The way you act when it's over, whether you won or you lost, you want to do it with grace in front of the crowd. If you're not happy with whatever, go home and be unhappy about it. Don't be unhappy in front of your fans. Take care of business. It's business and it's fun at the same time. So we're not trying to go out there and have a bad time or anything like that. So just we should hold ourselves more professionally.
I like that. If you had one piece of advice for a rookie driver, what would it be?
You don't have to empty the wallet. Just be smart and go through your stuff and take care of your stuff. You don't have to empty your wallet to get started. And if you need advice, reach out. There's plenty of people. In Miller County, we probably have the highest builder driver per capita of any other county in the entire state. Maybe U.S., but there's some places in Utah and California that rival it. We have a lot. I mean, I can't even list everybody. I can get started, but I'm going to miss people. And, I don't mean people that are driving every year. We have builders that haven't been building and driving year in and year out that still are active in the sport.
If you could induct one driver into the Demolition Derby Hall of Fame, who would it be?
That's a tough one. Is that on the questionnaire? I haven't thought about that. Man, maybe Corn Dog. Oh, Corn Dog, James Cornette. I put him in there. Jimmy needs to quit fucking with his legacy, though.
Agreed on that.
James is a good driver. He was the very first person I ever hit. Big John was in my car with me and said, "Don't hit James." So as a 15-year-old, what the hell you think I did? I went and hit James.
All right. Who's winning the Lucky Sevens championship this year?
I'm gonna have to go with Brad's answer from last week. Whoever makes it to all the shows, I don't think it'll be me. I might try. No, I don't think it'll be me. So whoever makes it, whoever's feeling ambitious, maybe Tyler Bungart's feeling ambitious, maybe Tyler Ray. I don't know how much Henry's going to run it. So maybe one of them guys. They made every show last year. So Henry making every show, it's hard to believe he wasn't a little bit higher in points. He was our only repeat winner as well. So he's got the stuff to do it. Consistency is the key to winning championship.
All right. If you had individual walk-up music, what song's playing when you pull in?
Head PE, let's ride.
All right. And I'll get you out of here on this. What's your favorite part about the sport?
I like seeing the crowd as I pull onto the track. I'm not looking at the other cars that are on the track. I already know who's there. I'm looking at the faces in the crowd and all the people that are in the crowd. I'm looking to see, are people having a good time? The stands full. It's just as much our job as drivers as it is your job as promoters to make sure those stands are full.
Great
There's
answers.
some damn good answers.
Yeah. You got anything else for us, Chris, before we send this one off?
Yeah, I want to thank you guys for all you do. It's a really thankless job that you guys do, but you do an awesome job. You're constantly trying to grow and evolve the sport, and the biggest thing is that you're in contact with your base, your drivers, your fan base, everybody, all the time, and that's huge. So as long as you're listening, good things are bound to happen. So we appreciate you guys a lot more than what people say.
We thank you for coming on the podcast. It's been a great episode. We look forward to seeing you. Are you planning on running next year any, or I forgot to ask.
Yeah, I'm running. I'm fixing the wagon. Actually, while I'm here real quick, Joshua, I need you to tell me what we can and can't do for Sedagging. You don't have anything in the rules for Sedagging. Can we touch on that real quick? Or can you write something up to put in there? Just curious. Not sure there's going to be a lot coming through, but mine will
Right.
be.
Yeah. I mean, it's once you Sedagging, your Sedagging's like a trunk.
Right.
So you just follow those rules. I think you get whatever 4 tie down spots to the body.
Okay. Same thing with the all thread going through the trunk.
Yep.
Okay. So basic. Don't be a knucklehead.
Correct.
So bring a torch.
Yeah. I like to bring the plasma cutter to the derby with a generator. And then you can weld too, because the multi-machine. I've had A-arm straps break at a Martin show before, and they let me weld them back up with someone watching me. So
Nice.
gotta be prepared. You never know.
That's pretty cool. We thank you for coming on the Crashed It podcast. Good luck with all your driving this year, and we'll look to see for you. Okay, we'll keep an eye out for you.
Thanks,
Appreciate
guys.
it.
That'll do it for episode number 32 on the Crashed It podcast. Like I always say, go out there and send it.
Thanks, Chris.
The recording has